I have been collecting Tamagotchi since 2006, I think. And one question I get a lot as a collector is which Tamagotchi release is the best? And I'm sure a lot of other collectors have received this question as well. And it's a really hard question to answer. And if you ask that question, you're going to get a lot of different answers from a lot of different people. But one thing that I think a lot of people can agree on is that the Connection era is probably the best. I've thought about this question for a long, long time, and I've never really had a concrete answer. And I don't even think that what I'm about to present to you today is a concrete answer. But this is a Tamagotchi release that I feel at this point in time is really great. And I think it covers a lot of area that people are looking for when they are buying a virtual pet. Honestly, this video came to me only because I really enjoyed running my Tamagotchi Keitai. Because I've always just thought that it's an unanswerable question, like what is the best Tamagotchi release? And like I said, this one maybe isn't the best for everyone, but from what I've gathered over I've been collecting since 2006, and I've owned almost every iteration of the Tamagotchi series and played with them. This one just kind of stands out to me. And I think it might be partially due to nostalgia, because it reminds me a lot of my first Tamagotchi that I ever owned, which was the Tamagotchi Connection V2. But it kind of is more simple in a way that I appreciate now as an adult. If you were to ask me the question, what is the best Tamagotchi release? My mind immediately goes to 3 different points, which are gameplay style, the characters available on that Tamagotchi release, and the price point. And I think price point is very, very important these days, unfortunately. During the pandemic, the fandom just exploded. There was a phenomenon where people were seeking comfort, maybe from childhood or something to distract, their mind or whatever. A lot of collectibles were, skyrocketing in price. And Tamagotchi was not exempt to this phenomenon. So after the pandemic, there was a huge influx of old fans revisiting the fandom, new fans who are joining for the first time, and things just got really, really crazy. When I recommend a Tamagotchi release to somebody, I always try and choose something that is very accessible, because the worst thing, maybe not the worst thing, something unfortunate that happens sometimes when people make large purchases in this hobby is that they spend a lot of effort hunting one down. They spend a lot of time thinking about it, trying to find a good deal. They finally find a deal that they feel comfortable with. It's so disappointing when so much effort, time, and money is put into finding something, and then when you finally get it, it's disappointing. That's the worst. So I don't like to recommend Tamagotchi releases to people if the price point is absolutely insane. The Keitai, by some miracle, has stayed relatively cheap. I believe it's partially due to the fact that it's in Japanese. People think that the language barrier is going to be a big problem, which it honestly is not at all. The Keitai is a completely Japanese release, so the language obviously is in Japanese, and that is a barrier for some people, but I don't think it's necessary for this release particularly, because it is not a language heavy release at all. Because it's a Japanese release, people are hesitant to buy it, which is great if you're interested in buying one, because the prices have stayed pretty low. I paid $30, I believe, for the white and pink keitai you see on the screen here, which honestly, it was a bit overpriced considering the condition of this one, considering it didn't have a tag. I don't regret buying it at all, because after I bought this Tamagotchi and was playing with it, that is what inspired me to film all this footage and create this video. So let me get into why I think the keitai is my number one recommendation for people who are new to the hobby. The most accessible Tamagotchi releases at this point are the originals and the nanos. Both of those are very bare bones in comparison to something from the Connection series. On the originals and the nanos, you can't get married, use items, all of that good stuff. The Tamagotchi originals and the Tamagotchi nanos are primarily care-based, meaning there aren't like factors outside of the way that you take care of it that will affect its growth. Like the Uratama and Entama have different point values that you receive from playing different games and using different items that will affect your character's growth, whereas the keitai is completely care-based, meaning, you know, if you don't feed it or make it happy or discipline it, those are the factors that will affect growth. And I, as someone who has played a lot of different virtual pets, I really enjoy a good old-fashioned care-based Tamagotchi. Basically, the keitai ticks all of the boxes that people are looking for when they're looking to buy a Tamagotchi connection, but for some reason, it's overlooked sometimes. I think the number one recommended Tamagotchi connection is the Tamagotchi V2, which I love the Tamagotchi V2. That was my very first Tamagotchi, and I think it's great. I think it's a very good recommendation. However, it is very difficult to find one for under $60. And for $60, you can get something way more advanced. So I have a hard time recommending that one. Because the price point is so insane. So in my mind, the keitai, it's a perfect stepping stone for people who have been playing with the more modern Tamagotchi releases but would like a connection experience. I'm now going to list my favorite things about the keitai. Number one is the fact that you can have your character drink sake. I think that's amazing and hilarious, and if you've been watching this video, you've probably seen the character drink something and then get dizzy, or if it's a teenager, drink something and then throw up. And that's sake. I think that's hilarious, especially as an adult having tiny toy egg that can drink sake. That's really funny to me, and I really love that. I also like how the keitai embraces death in a way that the English releases don't. So, for example, you can purchase a shrine, like a fancy shrine, so that when your Tamagotchi dies, it'll have this like fancy shrine, which is really cool. Very like kind of macabre and, whatever, but I really like it. I love that when you buy food, that food stays in your inventory, so it's permanent, so you can eat that as many times as you want, and yeah, it's great. I also love that this is a very laid back experience for a care-based Tamagotchi. It's very, very low maintenance. It's rare these days that I want to run something that is very, very high maintenance. I do love the Umino every once in a while, but like I love something that's a little bit easier, but also kind of challenging, and I think this hits that sweet spot for me. I also love that there's a smaller roster of characters, so it's more attainable to raise every single character if you want. It's not like an overwhelmingly large roster. I know some people like more choice, but I like simplicity these days. So C button animations are different. So if you push the C button when your character is just sitting on the screen, it won't just come up for a close-up. It might like blow bubbles or spin around or sing a song and then fall down. And I really love that. It makes it feel more like a pet and less like a life simulation, I guess. It has 3 secret characters, which I think is cool. The character gets money every time it evolves, so I think that's really cool. I don't think the American connections do that. In general, I feel like the Japanese connections have more personality than the English connections. I can't really explain why I feel that way, but I do. And I was raised with the English connections. I really liked them, but then after I played the Japanese, I just never went back. People always compare the Keitai to the Tamagotchi connection version 3, and I kind of feel like it's more like the version 2. I don't know why, but it's just the vibe, I guess. You know, there's tons of codes that you can input and get items. The Tamagotchi connection version 2 has a built-in shop, which the Keitai does not. What you have instead is an old man with a cart will come by every, twice a day or something, and you can buy an item from him, which I think is hilarious. The Keitai is also compatible with the Home Deca and the Tamagotchi School. Of course, you can only transfer points from the Tamasuku to the Keitai, but I still think it's really cool that we have these like accessory type devices that can interact with our main Tamagotchi device. The English releases definitely lack in that department. The last thing I have that I like about this release is that the gameplay surrounding the connection feature is really well fleshed out. Your characters can occasionally receive random items from like another Tamagotchi that you're connecting with, and then it stays permanently in your inventory, which is great. So that's really cool. I don't know. Basically, the Keitai is great. I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a connection era Tamagotchi. It's just simple, it's fun, and I like it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And this was my first time doing a real voiceover type thing, I think. So hopefully it's not horrendous. I hope you like it. Okay, all right. Until next time, bye.